Hey guys, today we're going to do a video specifically focusing more on the SMMA. If you are a social media marketing agency owner, then this is something that you're going to find incredibly valuable, but also helpful to increase the amount of clients that you have and actually retain them, because this is a really simple number by number basis to kind of value what you do and explain why you charge what you charge. Because when you get into these meetings and you start trying to pitch people, the number one conversation that they are more going to be concerned about is, okay, this all sounds great and your promises are amazing, but why is it worth me paying you $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, $6,000 to do something, right? And then still pay extra to Facebook and Google, etc. for ad spend. And what this does is it really just breaks down why you are worth what you're saying you are, and it actually is completely done with their own numbers, not yours, so they have no way really of arguing with it. And I'm going to get more into that, as well as give you just a straight up formula that you just plug in different values, different numbers, and it spits out an answer, which is the lifetime value or the customer LTV. So if you're completely new to the channel, completely new to the agency, and you didn't know what that is, I first think it's probably a good idea to explain it, because I think there will be quite a few new people. So customer LTV is your lifetime value. So this is how much one customer is worth over their lifespan to a particular business, if that makes sense. So with that being said, I have got a couple notes before the actual formula, so let's just dive into it. Alright guys, so firstly, this is really important. Higher LTV means higher acquisition cost, so more ad spend is needed. What that means is, if you are in something like the real estate industry, you will have a very high LTV, because obviously each purchase that the customer makes is going to be really expensive, at least compared to selling something like a pair of shoes. So because it's a much bigger expense, you're going to have to spend a lot more to acquire them as a customer, which means that you will have to have a lot more ad spend and a lot more budget to work with. So that's one thing that you definitely need to point out to the customer. Right, now I'm going to get into how to do it just now, but this is just a straight example of what I'm talking about. If the LTV is $3,000, right? Now that sounds expensive. That sounds like, you could only attain these values in things like real estate, etc. But when you've seen how it actually gets worked out, you'll see that this is very easy to achieve for most businesses. Dental, restaurants, maybe not restaurants, but definitely dental, SaaS, any of those kind of businesses, this will be really easy to achieve. Alright, and once you've worked out this, now this is just an example, assuming that the LTV is $3,000, that means you as an advertiser can spend $1,500 to get them as a customer, and you will still make a 2 times return on investment, right? So $1,500 currently in today's market with Facebook and Google to acquire a single customer is relatively easy. Obviously, if you're selling an extremely specific product which is very expensive, maybe not. But if you're selling something which generally is really good and provides really strong value, and it has a defined demographic, it's not going to be easy to achieve this at all. Alright, so it is literally impossible for them to disagree that you are not going to bring them a return on investment, because if you don't achieve a $3,000 customer acquisition on $1,500 in expenditure, then something is really wrong with your ads. So this is just a really good example and way that you can say, okay, well, it's almost impossible for me not to bring you at least, very important, at least a 2 times return on investment. Alright? And then obviously from that, it's the easiest way to then say, okay, well, that's why we're going to charge you this amount, and that's why your ad expenditure needs to be this amount. Because if you say that it costs you $1,500 to get a 2 times return on investment, if I'm charging $1,000 for my service, right, I only need to bring you 1 client a month to make you profitable, right? So it's so simple. But that's, I think, enough explaining. Let me just get straight into it. So it's literally just a formula. There's steps 1 to step 4, and you literally just plug in different values. So let's get into it. So total revenue in period. All right. So now a period can depend on how the business works. Certain businesses work in different quarters, annually, etc. Generally though, this is 1 year. All right. So let's just take it as the general. So that's the total amount of revenue in 1 year divided by the total number of purchases, right? That will give you an average purchase value. Fairly simple. Then, step 2, it's the total number of the purchases in the period. Again, you want to make sure that this period is the same as the previous one. So for this example, let's just say 1 year. So the total number of purchases in 1 year divided by the number of unique customers, okay? And that will give you average purchase frequency. This is fairly important because you don't want to divide it by the number of customers, because a lot of people come back and buy more than once. If you think of really simple basic idea, a grocery store in your community, a lot of people who have houses around there will go to the same grocery store more than once a year. All right, and this is the same for most businesses. Dental, a lot of people go to have checkups, to have cleans if they have any problems. Multiple different industries have a very strong number of unique customers increasing every year, but they also have a high frequency return rate. So again, these numbers not worked out at all. They're just going to give them to you if they know it. If they don't, generally what I'd recommend is just work on the industry level. All right. The third step is the average purchase value, which you worked out here in step 1, multiplied by the average purchase frequency, which you worked out here in step 2, and that will give you an average customer value. All right. So now you're getting really close. That is the average amount that a customer in that period, so say a year, is actually worth to you. Okay. Now this is where things get a little bit more tricky, because it's really hard to predict this, but it can be done. And this is the average number of years a customer continues to purchase. All right. What does this mean? It means that for Apple, for example, a lot of people tend to purchase once they're locked into Apple. They get an iPhone. Every year, a new iPhone comes out. So generally, people tend to upgrade yearly or every 2 years. So they would say that maybe their average lifespan is, because Apple's only been running for as long as it is, would be maybe 5 years, meaning every year for 5 years, someone comes back and buys a new phone. For example, we go back to the grocery store again. If the average person in that area lives there for 3 years, it's safe to say that the average lifespan would be 3 years. Now this is something again that you don't work out. This is something that you want to ask them for, and if they can give it to you. And then finally you get your average LTV, which is your average value from step 3, right, multiplied by your average lifespan, and that will give you your average LTV. All right, now at this point, guys, now you have an actual number. So you can say for every customer that I bring you, this is how much they will bring you in the future. This is how much they're worth. All right. So from there, if you take that number and you half it, that should be the amount that you would have to spend to acquire that customer to make a minimum of a 2 times return on investment. All right. 2 times is generally very average, but you'll see that once you start getting a fairly high LTV, it's so much easier to get a much higher return on investment than 2 times, and that allows you to justify why they should, number 1, go with you, why they should, number 2, take your service, and number 3, why you are worth being paid however much you are trying to charge them. So yeah, guys, I have kind of been swapping and switching a little bit between SMMA and e-commerce. The reason between that is I actually combine the two into, I'm still phrasing the term to teach other people, but it's almost like a money factory, I guess, how you can integrate the two together to work seamlessly instead of against each other, which is why I kind of teach both, because technically I still do both, I just join them together. But that will be coming, I think, a lot later down. So if you specifically want more content in SMMA or in e-commerce, let me know down below and I will try and help you with that. But otherwise, guys, I post every single day. I'll see you in tomorrow's video.